the galaxy was teetering on the edge of annihilation. For centuries, the Zorax Empire had stretched across the stars, dominating countless systems with its ruthless military might and unmatched technological prowess. Their warships, sleek and relentless, cut through the vastness of space like the fangs of a predator, and their soldiers, genetically engineered for combat, were feared by every race they encountered. But it was not the Zorax Empire's brutality that brought the galaxy to its knees. It was the arrival of the Exile Nayar, a race of hyper-intelligent, energy-manipulating beings that had been lurking at the edges of the known universe. They were ancient, so ancient that no one knew their true origin. Their presence alone was enough to send ripples of panic throughout the galaxy. When the Exile Nayar turned their gaze upon the Zorax Empire, it was only a matter of time before the balance of power shifted. The Zorax had fought valiantly, deploying their finest fleets and armies, but the Exile Nayar were too powerful. Their ability to warp space itself, manipulating gravity and energy fields, rendered the Zorax weapons and ships useless. Entire fleets were decimated in moments, swallowed by singularities that appeared out of nowhere, leaving nothing behind but the eerie silence of space. By the time the Council of Allied Races convened, the situation was dire. The Exile Nayar had decimated several systems and were now advancing toward the heart of the galaxy, towards the capital of the Zorax Empire, Exelithar. The leaders of every race present in the council chambers were at a loss for what to do. No force in the galaxy seemed capable of standing against the Exile Nayar's overwhelming power. That was when the voice came. It wasn't a voice in the traditional sense, but a mental projection, a whisper that echoed through the minds of the assembled leaders. The voice was unmistakable, as it carried a tone that could only be described as brimming with unwavering confidence. "Perhaps you are all looking at this the wrong way," the voice said. The leaders turned in unison, startled. It was a human, General Michael Donovan, standing at the back of the room. His uniform was worn, not the polished ceremonial garb of the diplomats, but the rugged fatigues of someone who had seen real battle. The others had long been in awe of the humans, whose short history in the galaxy had already proven that they were a force to be reckoned with. They were unpredictable, resourceful, and utterly relentless when cornered. "General Donovan," said the leader of the Vrek, an insectoid species with a voice that crackled like static, "are you suggesting that we stand a chance against the Exile Nayar? They possess powers that no weapon we have can even touch." Donovan didn't flinch. He walked forward, his boots echoing on the metallic floor. He stood tall, his eyes focused and sharp. "I'm not saying that we can fight them head-on, not in the way you're thinking," he replied, his voice steady. "But we don't need to fight them the way you expect. You all have technology, advanced weapons, and your own forms of power. But humans, we fight with something you don't have: ingenuity." A murmur of confusion rippled through the room. The general continued, his expression becoming more intense, more passionate. "The Exile Nayar may have power over space and energy, but they don't understand the way we do. They don't know how to outthink chaos. They rely on their superior technology, but we humans, we've fought our way through the toughest situations, and we've survived the odds. And that's exactly why we can win this. Because the Exile Nayar don't expect us to outsmart them. They think we'll be crushed beneath their power. But they don't realize humans thrive when they're underestimated." One of the representatives, a tall crystalline being known as a Zevrix, spoke up. "You really believe that your species can turn the tide against an enemy like this?" Donovan's lips curled into a half-smile. "You bet I do." As the conversation continued, the Allied races reluctantly agreed to give humanity a chance. The plan was simple, yet audacious. The Exile Nayar had never encountered a race that could outthink their strategic manipulation of space. And that was precisely the human strength. They could adapt and innovate in ways that others could not. Weeks later, General Donovan and a small team of the best human tacticians and engineers were stationed aboard the flagship of the newly formed Human Resistance Fleet. Their first mission: find a way to disrupt the Exile Neo's manipulation of space itself. The human fleet's first encounter with the Exile Neo was nothing short of catastrophic. The Exile Neo fleet materialized out of nowhere, bending the very fabric of space around them. Singularities erupted, and entire ships were torn apart in an instant. But Donovan had anticipated this. The humans had devised a weapon unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen, a device that could temporarily disrupt the Exile Neo's control over gravity and energy fields. It wasn't a perfect solution, and it wouldn't win the war on its own, but it was enough to create a small window of opportunity. As the Exile Neo ships closed in on the human fleet, Donovan's flagship deployed the device. A pulse of energy rippled outward, distorting space itself. The Exile Neo were caught off guard, their powers momentarily nullified. For the first time since the war had begun, the odds were no longer overwhelming. The humans had made their move, and they weren't backing down. Their fleets, though small compared to the Exile Neo, began launching precision strikes, using the window of opportunity to disable key enemy vessels. It was a hard-fought battle, but it was clear that the tide was turning. The Exile Neo, for all their power, had never considered the possibility of being outwitted. They had never imagined that a race as young and unpredictable as humanity could present such a challenge. By the end of the battle, the Exile Neo had retreated. The Human Resistance Fleet, though battered, had proven their worth. They had shown that it wasn't just raw power that could win a war. It was the ability to think, to adapt, and to never give up, even when the odds seemed impossible. The message was clear: the galaxy had underestimated humans. And that, as it turned out, was the Exile Neo's biggest mistake. In the weeks that followed, General Donovan's victory became legendary. The Human Resistance Fleet, now joined by an army of allied races, began striking back at the Exile Neo with renewed vigor. The battle for the galaxy was far from over, but one thing was certain: humanity had proven that when the odds were overwhelming, they were the last species anyone should call underestimated, because the Exile Neo had learned the hard way that humans didn't just fight to survive. They fought to win, and that, more than anything else, made all the difference.